Hello, cellos. We're going to start talking about the Lydian hand shape. And in our major hand shape video, we talked about the extension, a forward extension. If you remember, our hand stays in position, 2, 3, and 4 move with the thumb following along with the second finger. This is this is like the opposite version of it. So if our second, third, and fourth and thumb move and our first stays planted, a backward extension, which is what we have to do in order to get this E flat in tune, is the opposite. Second, third, fourth, and thumb stay in position. We're going to feel like we're pointing our finger up and stretching it back. What's going to change a little bit is the position that actually contacts the string. In a normal position, you're going to feel it kind of more on the fleshy part of your finger. And when you do a backward extension, it slightly rotates to the side of your finger. So you're going to actually feel like a little bit more of the side of your finger is playing. Now, what's important not to do is bend our wrist and have a shape that looks like this, right? We still want to have this straight on hand shape. But what we're going to do is it's going to feel like you point up and then lay it back. But we kind of do that motion fast by just extending our first finger back. Now, that is something we have to kind of keep track of because we'll put our first finger down. Notice how the rest of my fingers, if I'm playing E flat, the rest of my fingers don't play. I still want to have them in position so that they're ready to go and develop the technique of keeping it so that when I'm playing in a key that you would use E flat, F natural, and G, I'm in position. I wouldn't want to keep bringing it back here because then you have to move around a little bit too much. So we want to focus on keeping that hand shape still spread out even when we're only playing first finger. Okay, so thumb stays in position like always. It's just that first finger reaches back. So it kind of looks like this rather than our forward extension looking like that. So the space is between 1 and 2 and you're just extending it back. Okay, so that's really what I want you to practice here is making sure that you're in first position. Practice that feeling of extending back. Okay, and then I want you to practice just the intervals between these. So you're going to practice E flat, F, feeling that distance, that whole step between a low 1 and 2. And then I want you to feel F natural to G while your first finger is in this extension. You can check it against your open string. So that's where you're feeling it. You also want to practice the shift in the scaling portion. So really making sure you're practicing 1, your second finger's on C, and then you shift up for D with first finger, and you have that. The other interesting thing about Lydian hand shape is that it not only feels stretched out, but it sounds a little odd to our ear. It sounds like a major scale with a raised fourth note, and it sounds a little odd. So here's what it sounds like. It has an odd sound, so that's something you're also going to have to get used to. It's just the sound that it produces. It's a little bit different sound than your major scale or anything else. So I want you to take some time and practice the scale spot. You're going to pause here. I want you to practice just the intervals of going from low 1. Practice just the extension first. Then practice your 1 to 2, 2 to 4 intervals. So 1, 2, 1, 2. 2, 4, 2, 4, getting a feel for that. And then I want you to practice this shift. C, that same shift that we used kind of in the Phrygian hand shape. So take a second, pause your video, and practice it that way. Okay, we are back. We're going to start talking about the scale in thirds. And really all this is just a continuation of what we talked about in the scale part, because when you do these intervals, 1 to 2, 2 to 4, and as long as you're feeling like you're keeping your finger back, it's going to feel the same way. You're just going to have these big stretches. So I want you to feel what it feels like to go from 1 to 4, E flat to G. You can check it with your open string to make sure you're in tune. It is a big stretch. I've got a big hand and I'm feeling a stretch. So those of you who have smaller hands, or those of you who are maybe playing on a full-size cello and you still are growing, this might feel like a very, very, very big stretch to you, okay? So really make sure you're feeling like a big stretch. So practice this E flat, G, E flat, G. Then the F natural A is okay. The G to B flat's going to also be, it's that fourth finger to a low 1. And if you have tunnels and you can let that A string vibrate under your hand, you can keep your fourth finger down and feel that same position. So practice those 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 4 to 1, 4 to 1. That's going to help. And then the last thing you want to practice is what the shift is going to feel like at the top of the scale. So maybe practice going 4, 2, those last 3 notes. This is with a 4, 2, shifted to 3. So maybe practice that, then add the first finger, okay? And if you're finding that you're missing that E, just go back and practice the C to E. And think about where D lives and making sure your first finger gets to that D, then your third finger will be in tune. So if you need to add that, then take it out, rest, then take the rest out. Making sure you're thinking about that thumb and how the mechanics of the shift are working. So practice this spacing 1 to 4, 4 to 1, and then practice this 4, 2, 3 to get the shift down. So take a second, pause your video, and practice those sections. All right, we're back. I want us to take through and go through this whole thing in half notes, really focusing on that extension, keeping that first finger back, keeping that big spacing between 1, 2, and 4, and then thinking about the shift at the end. Here we go. Nice slow half note. 1, 2, ready, go. That's the Lydian hand shape. Go ahead and practice this as much as you need to feel comfortable with it.